lane are the two of the big things that they want to really shut Kana down. And historically speaking, Keen is the least jungle priority, but in this series they've been really collapsing into to try to punish Kana as much as possible. That's been the name of the game. As we will once again see Faker get this early prio for the Rise.
Okay.
And wants to be last here. Might just pick up the Varus, lock in that AD carry, and respawn. A little bit more reactionary for the rest of the draft here.
Yeah, I would assume that the Varus is probably pretty likely here.
Yeah, I think it's the
Gumiyushi's
safest
had a pretty good time with it. I wonder whether Fly will go back to the Zoe once again, though, as it is actually the Trundle being considered.
This
that
not
is going to
go
be
well
locked away
for Gen G. We'll see if this ends up being a better pick here for T1. I mean, into the Lee Sin, it's already looking, you know, arguably better than what we saw last game. This also does mean that it's going to be very likely, again, the Gwen to the top side of the map, because we haven't seen Trundle and Soul lanes. So you got to consider the Jace here, I think, as a Afrika. If you have the Jace into the Gwen, you feel really good as Keen. And yes, the Thresh is super strong with the Aphelios, but that's the trade-off you lose, because now T1 can ban it. I mean, the Jinx is very strong in late game, but the Kog'Maw is a lot riskier, I think, especially when you consider the LeBlanc on the other side. Yeah, how much blow-up potential there is there.
Yeah, and I like it alongside the Braum. Can help sort of try and stop the Jinx from just instantly dying if Aphelios gets Calibrum and then shoots you from a million years away.
I don't hate picking up, another AD top laner. Like, it's going to be the Lucian in this case. It was left open this time. The Tristana was also still an option here, but once again, Keen is just going to go, no, I'm going to have a ranged matchup. I'm going to play AD here in the top lane, and I'm going to have Prio. And it's a very similar idea to what we saw in the last game. Not going to be as amazing at blowing up turrets, but it's going to be really good at controlling those early team fights around the Rift Herald in particular, especially on the top side of the map there when those group ups do happen.
Yeah, and look, also still kills turrets very, very well.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about this is that normally you look at like a top jungle 2v2 and you're like, oh no, this doesn't look so good, you know, at least.
It's like, oh no.
Yeah, we're going to have to use some Mist pretty effectively, but it's not actually going to do anything. That's First Blood so easily.
And look at where
Dread.
Owner is. He's just a few seconds behind, right? He was coming up. He knows this threat is possible, and now he's just going to be on wave hold duty.
Yeah.
I guess not. There's still teleport.
Keen is 100% flame. The Crescendum and the Calibrum are up here for Leo, so we can do a lot of long-range damage. Cannon now trying to get Snippy, and they landed onto the hands. The Super Mega Death Hook comes through, and the ulti from Leo is not going to land. T1, they group up and get the job done. Gumiyushi with the double in the end.
Gumiyushi coming up as a hero here, and Keria blocks the majority of that culling damage, so they're able to kind of weather the storm there and then turn the fight on its head. Fly.
As you can see, Keen gets exhausted. Dread safeguards to get on top of the Lucian, and now the rest of Afrika, they dive in on top of Owner. They're able to grab that kill. Dread very close to falling down, and they save Afrika's top side outer turret and Keen's laning phase.
Afrika just so proactive in terms of knowing that this is the one place where you can get value with this Rift Herald right now. It's the one timing where they have members on the top side of the map. They knew it. They saw them.
It's so slightly unfortunate there as Keria gets in there and they immediately get rid of Dread. Faker's going to be okay for a little while, but the Moonlight Vigil will be able to lock him down. This kind of tries to find some needlework, but doesn't get it here. Onto Afrika. We'll be able to charge up a few of them, but not going to land.
We were talking about a lack of proactivity from Afrika in Game 1, but this is not what we had in mind, to be this aggressive. You had a free opportunity. You had Drake Prio, but you got greedy. You wanted even more. And yes, it is a trade, but the trade doesn't favor you because you don't get the Drake anymore. Now T1 have that objective tied up.
Yeah,
1-to-1 here.
Cloud Soul as well.
Yeah,
maybe I'm going to owe some people some apologies for that one.
Which is actually really good for both teams. As we watch this one more time, Faker is pretty aware, but unfortunately he's just not able to save himself. The kick is kind of awkward, and Faker buys a ton of time with that stopwatch, so they do end up trading this onto Dread. Really great block once again from Keria, who's had a fantastic game, and it's Leo who's the one who's able to finish this off with the Moonlight Vigil. But you lose the Drake, you know? And if you had just...
Would have clicked the Lantern, Snips come forward. They do manage to take down the Lucian, and then immediately Canna goes golden, but look at this Aphelios damage. He's doing a lot of work. You saw Owner threw down the Subjugate. That was onto Leo, so that's going to get him some health back, but they do manage to make their way out of there as Afrika Fly off to the side, is going to get slowed down, but will be able to keep himself up for the moment.
I mean, just that one kill onto the Lucian gives so much pushing power to T1. They want this.
Now we've got a teleport to come through. Let's see whether they can actually get this. He does have the Zhonya's complete as Fly gets out, but Keen, he's not going to be so lucky. He's stuck in there. Super Mega Death Rocket finishes off the kill as Realm Warp is going to come through as well. That's going to bring Gumayusi over.
I was like, some sunk cost fallacy here for Afrika, Atlas, I think.
Yeah, right.
They were like, well, we waited this long, we might as well just all in on Faker, and his Zhonya's just outlast literally everything.
Really get in there, though, is the question. Is that Realm Warp was not exactly where I was expecting it to be, but it might just be the end of Lehens, as it is going to be a trade of supports, but Keen's already dead. Leo has a whole lot of survivability, but just not enough. And T1 roll over the top once again. They'll now start off the Baron, and I think finally this game has officially turned into a T1 big advantage.
It's definitely a huge advantage for T1 now, and Afrika had so many opportunities to make a choice, right? Either commit, hard engage onto somebody after you set up that brush, or rush down the Baron. They made neither choice. They stayed in the brush for a little bit, went over the Baron, started, walked away, then started the Baron again a second time. Just way too slow on this. And your composition cannot just start Baron before T1. T1 could start a Baron and then turn. Yours, not so much, because you're so reliant on Fly to play this LeBlanc on a flank angle. And you see he's just completely irrelevant in this fight. This is a 5v4, and it should not have been this way. It should have actually been 5v4 start for Afrika, but they wait so long. T1 go for the punish. And T1 have just been way more decisive this game than Afrika have, and they've just been playing as if T1 is really good in these splits here.
No, it's been fantastic.
Look at all the words that Afrika have to commit.
Okay, that's a hook onto Carrier. He's going to die immediately. Fly tries to get in there. Gumayusi down to below half. And Afrika will save their inhibitor turret and this inhibitor.
It's unbelievable that they're able to make this defense happen.
That flip is Dread. Okay, he's going to be able to take the lantern out. Fly gets towards the side, but he has distortion to get himself out of the way. Fishing now with these pillars is Canna diving forward, looking for a little bit more. You can see Leo getting dove on. Great kickback onto Canna, but look at the damage. Faker finally able to get in there. Immediately pops to Dread. Now trying to get out of the way, and it's Gumayusi's turn to get the hard carry happening. This is going to be the ace, and T1 will just be able to march down the mid lane and finish off this game.
What a great end to this game for T1. Soars a little wide, but Fly.
The super mega almost rocket.
Press the attacks on him. Is he going to get out of here? Yeah. Looks like the answer is yes. He actually can go back too if he wants to, but the Nexus is going to go down.
Yep.
T1.
Some say that Fly is still running away from T1, but we will never know as T1 do take down the Nexus. They finish off what feels like one of the longest best of threes that we've had this season. Obviously, I think the Nongshim series was probably longer. The T1 definitely do like to spend their time on Summoner's Rift.
T1 were just never going to get caught and never going to get picked when Afrika spent their entire mid to late game trying to stay in a brush, trying to find Faker on the side lane, trying to continue to punish Kana, trying to grab a pick, and we did see some hooks go through, but in the last moment when Afrika decided to go in, it was the mist from Kana. He eats the hook, it's completely negated, and then they collapse in, and it's like everybody in Afrika is in the exact wrong place at that moment. Faker played a very greedy game, and his teammates kept him alive. He got so fed early on, and Fly, I mean, he played his heart out, but there was limits to what he could do because the positioning from T1 was just superior.
Yeah.
And this was a great game for T1, even though it was a longer one, and even though it did go very late, and it felt like there were times maybe T1 could have pushed the issue better. I thought this was a great game to showcase T1 have changed since the early part of summer, where in a game like this, they might have thrown their lead. They might have tossed it away. They might have actually choked and made a big mistake, made the wrong call, or argued in comms about what the call was. Not this time. Every single play they made, you know,
Sandbox being the next one, I think that the most important thing about the Sandbox matchup is how well Sandbox drafted today. And I think that there were some holes for T1. I don't know how I feel about, you know, things like Volibear and Trundle in the jungle to just like picked face up. There are a lot of Trundle opportunities that are really, really strong. I don't know whether there were. Let's see what Carrier's damaged block numbers were. I don't know whether we can get that stat, but they were pretty insane.
Yeah, it's definitely something you can look up later on. We're
볼만해.
gonna watch these comms or listen to these comms.
Special delivery that went into your backline.
Yep. Just Samly has no ultimate.
아 이게 진짜다.
야 이거 미드
라인.
미드라인.
Push the wave, push the wave, push the wave.
좋아요.
Faker's already saying it's over. He's like, nice.
이인형이 너무 잘한다.
때가리.
이인형이 너무 잘한다.
너 말고
And they're talking about Keen just being really good, you know.
너 말고
Kana's like showing a lot of respect.
Yeah, and Kana just saying sorry.
이인형이라는 줄.
He did his job in the end.
There you go. Let's take a look at the damage numbers here because you could see Fly and Faker, you know, not doing a ton of damage in this game because they both were kind of in the side lane.
That advantage. But let's have a look at the player of the game and see who was able to walk away with it. A difficult one to vote for, but it is going to go to Faker one more time. I guess if in doubt, you vote for Faker.
I voted for Faker because I was in doubt, and I